How dare you continue to look away?
การเปลี่ยนแปลงสภาพภูมิอากาศเนี่ยมันไม่ใช่แค่เรื่องว่าน้ำแข็งละลาย
ถ้าพูดถึงเรื่องโลกร้อนเนี่ยรู้สึกอะไรเคยมีประสบการณ์อะไรที่ทำให้รู้สึกถึงประเด็นนี้แล้วเราอยากจะพูดถึงมันในมุมไหน
Climate change เนี่ยการเปลี่ยนแปลงสภาพภูมิอากาศเนี่ยสิ่งที่มันนำมาทั้งเรื่องของการผันผวนการแปรปรวนต่างๆมันนำไปสู่การเปลี่ยนแปลงสภาพนิเวศด้วย
All right, welcome to the second annual CCCL Film Festival online edition. My name is Nakorn Chaisi. I'm a program designer with the festival. สวัสดีครับทุกคนยินดีต้อนรับเข้าสู่เทศกาลหนังสั้นโลกป่วยเราต้องเปลี่ยนครั้งที่2ครับในรูปแบบออนไลน์นะครับผมบอมนครชัยศรีนะครับเป็นผู้ออกแบบกิจกรรมของเทศกาลครับสำหรับสนทนาในวันนี้นะครับเราจะพูดคุยเป็นภาษาอังกฤษนะครับแล้วก็จะมีการแปลสดบทสนทนานะครับเป็นภาษาไทยที่ช่องคอมเมนต์ของ Facebook Live นะครับยังไงก็สามารถติดตามได้จากaccount คุณอนัสยาน้ำดอกไม้นะครับคุณอนัสยาจะเป็นLive Translator คอยแปลบทสนทนาในวันนี้ครับ First thing first, let me tell you a little bit about CCCL Film Festival. We are a platform for youth and communities to share their story of climate change. Founded in 2019, CCCL aims to raise awareness about climate change through the powers of short films and inspire action in Thailand and Asia. We organize year-round activities and offer a limited number of filmmaking grants and mentorship to young aspiring filmmakers. This talk is a part of online film festival, and if you haven't checked out our festival yet, this is the time. Go to watch.ccclfilmfestival.com to stream 25 short films about climate change and cast your vote for the Audience Choice Award. The winner of these awards will receive a cash prize of 10,000 baht. So who will win is completely up to you. Okay, before we jump into the talk, I would like to shout out to our sponsors. First, Sang Foundation, Siam Canadian, Peter Eric Dennis, and all of your partners and donors, and definitely you, our audience. So thank you. And today, I'm actually not alone. I have another host to help me. Please welcome our project advisor, คุณออส บุษกร สุริยสาร Hi, คุณออส
Hi, good to see you guys.
Thank you, คุณออส for helping me with today's conversation.
Of course, I'm very excited and very happy to see several of you, and I have seen your films and excited to talk about them today.
All right. Today we are so excited to talk with some of amazing artists and filmmakers. So please welcome everyone here.
Are we going to start?
Yeah, I think we will wait for our filmmakers to turn on your camera. All right, we see you now. All right, welcome everyone. All right.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Zach.
Hi.
Piozon and
Hello.
Niyaz.
All right, let me introduce each of you, okay? Joining us from Philippines, Hans Piozon from the film Coast.
Hello, everyone. I'm Hans Piozon.
I think no, actually you, that's my mistake. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
That's I don't know why I say that. Actually, Hans Piozon, he's the director of an EIDOLON named Night.
Yes.
Welcome, Hans. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Hello.
I told myself I'm not gonna mess up. I messed up at first.
Oh no, it's okay. It's really okay.
All right. So next up, James Evangelista from the film CITSALP.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
All right. Next up, this director actually from the film Coast, Zachary Yap from
Hi.
Singapore. Hi, Zach.
Yeah. Hi.
All right. Next up, joining us from Bangladesh, Mohammad Niyaz Hasan.
Hi everyone, I'm Mohammad Niyaz Hasan and I'm from Bangladesh. And
All right.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you guys too.
All right. I think we have everyone here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today, and thank you for sharing your film with us. It's such an honor to watch your film and have your film screened at our festival. So thank you. Well, let's get started, shall we? Kun Ot?
Sure. I think I will field the first question. I have seen all of your films and they are wonderful in different ways. And I think I would like to know a little bit. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your film and what inspired or compelled you to tell this story? Maybe we start with Zach, our host from Singapore.
Okay. So how the idea came about was like when Singapore was during its slowdown stage, I wasn't really doing much in life. So I decided to do up this voluntary beach cleaning services. And I was actually very surprised by the amount of like litter there was by the coastside. And that sort of like inspired me to come up with this idea. And, I've always been aware that climate change was a big problem, but what I'm really glad is to see that there are actually people, youngsters actually like putting a lot of effort in doing this beach cleaning every day. And that's how I decided to come up with this script. But at the same time, I really wanted to reflect, like in this film, what society in Singapore is like. That's why, like in the film, from an observational perspective, you kind of see like a lot of things going on, from like a bunch of volunteers doing beach cleaning to people who don't really care about what's happening. And I thought that if it could raise up that question, or even like highlight a statement for the viewers to really wonder about like who they are and what they want to be through this film, then it could be something of very important. Yeah.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. And we can talk more about this, about climate films, but let's hear from the Philippines. Maybe Jane?
Hello, everyone. So my film is a animated film of CITSALP, which is in backwards plastic. And what about my film is that how does plastic affects the marine life of the whole world, not only in our country, but in the whole world. And so my inspiration is that back in 2019, I was still in senior high school. And that turtle video that trended online when the turtle has his or her straw on his or her nose and it's bleeding so bad, but the rescuers tried to pull it out and save the turtle. Well, that's where I got my inspiration, and that's the first step for me to become an environmentalist. Originally, the film was supposed to be based on a plastic and a turtle, but our team researched that it's better to have a whale instead of a turtle because of the impact of the impact of the whale is much bigger than the turtle. So thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. Niyaz, perhaps?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Niyaz Hasan from Bangladesh. My film is a short animated film. The name of it is A Good Ending. The inspiration came actually 7 years ago when I was little. I used to go to the rural side of my country, Bangladesh, to my grandparents' house, and I used to like the nature was very beautiful. But now I start to notice that everything's become more dimmer. Like the nature it's become all polluted. So I am fascinated in art. I like to experiment with different types of art. And this time I've tried my hand at animation. And this is my second ever large animation project, I guess. And I've tried to use color and sound design. What I tried to capture was obviously the whole global warming and climate change of the whole world, but I also tried to keep my country as the main focus, and how we, by polluting our rivers, as Bangladesh is a riverine country, right? And most of the population here is dependent on the rivers, but we the people are polluting our own rivers, which is in turn intoxicating the whole ocean and harming the whole marine ecosystem. That's what I've tried to show in my work. One thing that I try to do in all my artworks is to use as less dialogue as possible. So if you notice, I barely use any dialogue. If I need to get any point across discreetly, then I always try to use text, English text, so that my audience is universal. I try to make sure that my audience will be able to understand the message of the film just through the visual storytelling. So I hope you guys enjoy my film, and please try to understand the message. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you,
really
Niyaz.
enjoy your film.
Yeah, I did too. And a very different film from Piozon, I think, and how do you say it? And EIDOLON named night. What is an
Yeah.
EIDOLON?
Oh yeah, an Eidolon named Night is actually a line from Allan Poe's poem. It's an Eidolon named Night, and I caught it from there because it was really striking for me. Yeah, and basically the film, An Eidolon Named Night, is it started from the thought of like I'm gonna be really honest. It was conceived because of financial constraints. It was from a narrative film. It wasn't supposedly experimental. We just chose to go to the experimental route because of financial constraints that we have to actually be resourceful to it. And the idea came from like dreams being projected of 5 different characters, and dreams being a realm of disjunct abstraction. And it led me to choose experimental as a form. Well, yeah, so basically it's about the connection of people to spaces, most especially nature. And spaces are like comprised of so many factors, most especially the ecosystem and nature. And we are not mere separate individuals that are not connected to nature. So yeah, it's really about the connection of people to nature.
Oh, different people and a buffalo too, right? I think buffalo was really cool, and you managed to make him stand there.
Yeah, exactly. It was a really tough job to do.
Yeah, that was really fun.
To direct a
Carabao.
Interesting film. A water buffalo, I mean.
Yeah. We have lots here too in Thailand.
Oh yeah, I've heard. Yeah.
Carabao, right?
Yeah, it's called Carabao in the Philippines.
Yeah. So, Nakhon, we have another filmmaker joining us.
We have a filmmaker. Please welcome Delwyn Jude Remedios from India. He is director of the film Save Our Species. Hi, Delwyn.
Hi, Nakhon. Thank you for this platform. So I am from India, and the film that was screened was Save Our Species. We're really delighted for this platform. And I am a faculty at IIT Hyderabad, which is the Indian Institute of Technology. And this film was an experiment as a teaching exercise. So I usually take courses related to animation, graphic novels, and filmmaking. And this was an introductory course to our students. And instead of a whiteboard and teaching them the basics of animation, we decided that our canvas is a film. And we would sit together and I would animate with them and they would learn from this whole process. So that's how we did this particular learning exercise. And there were seven or eight bachelors of design students, and they were assisting me on this film. So we wanted to keep the concept really simple so that everyone could connect with this concept, because they were also learning about some of the principles of animation during this course. And stop motion was a good medium to, you know, touch and feel the canvas and move things. So the main idea of Save Our Species has been sitting with me for a while, because I came to know about a school in Lausanne, a school called Lausanne in Switzerland, and they had two separate specializations of animation. And this was not a regular specialization, so I was very impressed with this idea. There was one group of students who made films with the aid of technology, and there was another specialization which made films with the absence of technology. And this concept had really impressed me, and I remember seeing photographs of students on the mountains playing with stones and sticks. And this idea was really impressive, because very often we think that films have to have large budgets, and our friend from Bangladesh also mentioned that, you know, with a limited budget film. So Save Our Species was made without any budget. We gathered all waste material, a lot of natural materials, leaves, and everything that had fallen. Nothing was really plucked, to represent the endangered species. And whatever we found in our institute, industrial waste, we used to represent the industry and the pollution. So that was our concept. We spent no money on this particular film, and we used the existing resources. And the students, each of them, they created one animal which was on our list of endangered species, and then together we choreographed a small event. And a small event which was resulting in this species endangerment. And one of the challenges we had to face was a lot of the animals had common reasons for extinction, for facing endangerment, like, you know, poaching and deforestation. So the challenge was to not repeat the same thing, but to, you know, communicate the intensity of various things that are happening to our planet's creatures. So that was the overall idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a very beautiful film.
Yeah.
I mean, it was short, but was so rich.
You.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
rich. It must have taken quite a bit of time to put all those images together, huh?
It actually didn't take too much time, surprisingly, because our course was just 2 weeks. So
Oh my God.
we had a loose narrative. There's almost no script written, and it's like when the bell rings, the next course starts. That's when we have to wrap up our production. So there were some species which we didn't get to add to this, but as long we said, okay, this is what we've got with our time limitation, because the students would go to attend the next course. And very interestingly, this was the last offline class before the pandemic had struck. And you know, then the students had vacated the hostels, and this wouldn't have happened actually. The timing was just perfect. And so it took us just 2 weeks of production. And then I had the footage with me, so I could sit at home and, you know, fine-tune the editing.
Wow. It's blown my mind. Listen to you telling us about the process of making this film, because I mean the final product is really mind-blowing, and I mean I really love the kind of animation that you use in your film, the stop motion and the texture, the color is really beautiful.
Thank you, much appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah, talking about the kind of visualization, I think what's interesting about this year program is kind of a variety of genre and the artistic look of your film. So I was wondering, how did you visualize the story? Maybe tell me a little bit about your creative process in making your film. Let's start with Hans.
Hello. Yeah. So about the creative process of producing the film, it was an artistic decision to actually make the shots still, and to make everything muted at first. The structure of the film came from the 3-act structure, but I wanted to be something different. Like, I asked myself, how can you apply the 3-act structure without applying dialogues and with just merely visuals of literally just static pictures on the frame. So I applied this treatment to the film, and I came up with the whole story without having any dialogues, with using just projections and the projection of their desires and dreams through those literally dream projector. So yeah, it's how I came up with a treatment of the film.
Yeah, I think it's what kind of intrigued me about the film is how that you use some kind of modern technologies to kind of projects with some kind of human needs in people. Like you see the dreams of each individuals in your film, and there's a shot that there's, I assume it's gonna be like a student working on your Adobe Premiere Pro on editing software, and it's kind of blend in together some kind of the new territory, like the new world, the new technology, and some kind of humanism together. And when you watch your film, when I watch your film, I mean, it starts to feel like or my dream is getting intruded by environmental issues that kind of slowly burning to the end, that we see the flaming going on. Is that the process that when you write the story, is that how you write the
Yeah. Actually, it started when I watched Paprika. So in Paprika, you get to the synopsis of the film is like there's like a dream equipment where you can actually go into the dreams of a person. And then I thought of like, what if you can project a dream, and then through those dreams you can actually see the connection of every living creature, even the water buffalo. Like I was thinking that how could we connect this to every living organism in this planet, because we're all connected, even the spaces. So practically it started with that thought of like having able to project the dreams and knowing that everyone is connected through those dreams and through those desires that are not like shown in broad daylight.
All right. Very interesting. I mean, I think this is the one that we kind of talking among the team, like what's going on, and then we kind of dissect scene by scene. And I think when we start looking at it, it's kind of working. I think like it kind of worked on me, like work on the team as well. Like we still feel the message or the atmosphere that you create in your story. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Niyaz.
Hi. To begin talking about the creative, the process of making my film, I'm actually, like I said, I'm experimenting with digital art and 2D animation right now. It's a zero budget project, to be honest. I just had a tablet which my father uses for his online classes because he's a teacher, and so I borrowed that and tried my shot at animation to with the view of climate change, because I always I try to use my artistic skills to convey the message and to raise awareness for climate change. The process, it actually began as a sketch. I just kept on drawing scenes. I didn't really have any objective, to be honest. But at one point, it started to tell a story by itself. And you can, if you have watched the film, it's a pretty generic story. At first, it's happy, then it slowly goes to pollution, where everything gets dark. But I think that the ending, at the end, there's like a couple seconds of a scene which I think captures the main theme of the film, which is a good ending. So I didn't show that we're all being consumed by climate change. At the end, I left a couple of seconds to show that there is still hope. We can still turn this back around, because if we started climate change, of course, we can at least mitigate it. At least we can fight back against it. So at the end, I show a couple of aware people, which the aware people that were holding up the signs, those represent the few of us that are actually actively working towards solving climate change. And at the end, I showed that that Mother Nature, the aware people can only turn back Mother Nature to green. So that's the main process. There wasn't really a concrete process. I didn't have a script. I'm just a school going kid, so I didn't really have a process. It just all came together at one point. So that's the process.
Yeah, but actually I feel like but what I kind of I just I'm curious, like the scene is seen as you draw it yourself, right?
Yes.
Is that the representation of the space or the city that you live in?
No, it's just in general the rural side of my country, Bangladesh, because most of Bangladesh is kind of like that, I would say. But no, that's not the city. It's more of the rural side, because the cities aren't really suffering from this. I mean, I guess they are from air pollution, but the most devastating are the rural areas people, because most of them live by the rivers. And because of climate change, river erosion, and pollution, many of them are losing their lives or livelihoods. So that's my representation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask one question? There is quite a big issue of climate migration in Bangladesh. Like people who basically lost their homes, right? And they move in the city. Is that something you are looking at and you might be interested in bringing to the screen at some point?
Yes, it's an ongoing process, and I plan to bring more of this into the light in the future through my artwork. So of course, yes, I am considering that. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So another project that I think is kind of similar to a good ending as well is CITSALP, because it's kind of start to tell a story with kind of, we don't know what this story is gonna heading at, but it's eventually we kind of see what happened when one action kind of reflect to another thing. So maybe Jane, you can tell a little bit about your creative process in making this beautiful animation.
So with the story outline, I imagine it as no dialogue, because one teacher told me that a silent film is better than a talking film, because it tells the story itself, and the viewers expresses their film by their imagination and what they see. And if you see, you mentioned that in the ending, and at the ending, the plastic is still alive. I wanted to show that it has a repeatedly process of how plastic intoxicate our marine creatures unless we do something about it. And animation is my choice of genre because first, it would be difficult for us to shoot it in real life. And second, animation is not just for children, I believe that, but for all of us to watch. And I believe that animation is a powerful tool to deliver a message too.
Yeah. Is that I mean, the different thing that you mentioned, that the endings of your film is kind of heartbreaking actually, and but the visual is kind of brightening a little bit, and is that the choice of you to kind of illustrate the contrastness of your story and the color of your film?
Actually, it's the choices of my animators, the colors of the film, and how it is made is that I gave them a color palette, I gave them the things they needed. You know, the Red Turtle by Studio Ghibli. It's actually it's actually based on that film. It's actually this itself. Sorry, CITSALP is actually based on the how it is shown in the film, and that's it.
All right. Thank you so much, Jin. Another the film that's kind of related to ocean as well. Zach, maybe tell a little bit about your one take.
Oh yeah. So I really love slow art house films. I think like since young I've been exposed to that kind of cinema as well. And I guess also living in a very fast-paced society like Singapore, it working on like slow films allowed me to really see and appreciate the moments a lot better. That's why I decided to attempt this one whole take. And to really explore the power of a review, like when you see from one part of the beach to the other, and just to really let visual information be presented itself from an observational point of view. Yeah, but it was really challenging on set, especially because
tell me about it. I really want to know about how you blocking everything.
Yeah, I mean you all know, right? We all filmmakers, like doing a master blocking for a long take is really a lot of work, a lot of coordination. My assistant director was running here and there. And I remember the sea level was rising through the day because, like, doesn't mean a 3-minute film means on set is probably like, it's probably like 7 to 8 minutes per sequence because everyone needs to like get back to their first position. And then I remember my DP was panning and every time we wanted to keep rolling, the sea level was rising. Then my DP had to like shift his camera and go up again just to make sure that the water doesn't drown him and the camera. Yeah, but it was a really fun process. I mean, it wasn't a big crew. It was really just a bunch of friends who were just really passionate about film, and we decided to experiment on something like this. Yeah.
So is at the beginning that you know exactly that this story is going to be shot in one take?
Yeah, it was intended this way, because like I really wanted to explore that idea as well. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think we kind of lost Delwyn along the way. So maybe we start with the next questions.
Okay. Yeah, it's fascinating listening to how you came to make the films that we screened. I'm just wondering, I mean, I have a question that I would save for later, like whether you are environmentalists first or filmmakers first. But for now, I would like to know whether there is a lot of interest in climate filmmaking where you are, in your country. Are there a lot of filmmakers making either feature or short films or any sort of films on the topic of climate change or environmental issues? And are there like platforms where once you've made your films, you could submit to and have your work, shared to the audience, the larger audience? Anyone can jump in. Who goes first? Piozon? Thank you. In the Philippines, how is it?
Hello. Sorry. In the Philippines, there's like a really immense need for like climate change activism, because and when it comes to like medium of film as a way to actually push our needs in climate change, it's used as a background, not like as the main subject of films. But then like I think these institutions such as CCCL is really important to sort of like push the calls for climate change and all of the needs that we need to attend to that. So yeah, Southeast Asian countries in general has like little to, not really little to no, but more of like, how do I put this? A lot of work to given to actually push it.
So that means like we have quite a bit of a way to go, right?
Yeah,
In terms
like a
of,
long way to go.
right. In terms of stimulating interest on the issue, on climate issue, as well as supporting artists to to make films. Are there any organizations like ours in the Philippines, like CCCL, that support young filmmakers to make climate films? Not sure what happened to Piozon. Maybe Jean can help.
Hello. So organizations like Film Development Council of the Philippines are one of the organizations that help us get film festivals like Lima Film Festival. Lima Film Festivals is in English Climate Film Festival that helps us go through or promote films that about climate change, and that helps us to showcase our advocacy that we need to change for our environment, and that's it.
That's good to hear. That's very good. So are there a lot of basically who make climate change films in the Philippines? Are they like younger filmmakers, or do you have any like veteran older filmmakers, and who are they who are making the films like you are making?
I think the younger people are interested in taking an action to climate change, and that okay, Hans, you go.
Oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. But like, yeah, young filmmakers and mostly independent filmmakers are producing films independently to sort of like push the action towards climate change. But there are also institutions sporadically that supports films about climate change and then our care for nature in the Philippines. I think there's one in NCCA, which is like the National Commission on Culture for the Arts in the Philippines. And they have a program called Bayanihan. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the name is, but they support filmmakers who are promoting the change for climate. Yeah.
Good. Good to hear. So what about in Bangladesh? There are lots of issues to cover in Bangladesh. Is there a lot of support for filmmakers in Bangladesh?
In terms of climate change activism, yes, there is a long way to go, just like I would believe in the Philippines. But I will say that Bangladesh has a very large population, and there are many people, hundreds and thousands even, that are actively working towards climate change and raising awareness. But when we speak in terms of percentage, it is very low compared to what we need right now. But in terms of filmmaking, young filmmaking, I will say that I'm not really sure, but from my experience, children like me, at least, I mean, like, we are young people, they don't get that much support from their parents, first of all, and second of all, there isn't really any film schools in Bangladesh. But there are tiny organizations that are being established right now, such as the International Children's Film Society in Bangladesh that recently got established, I think a couple years ago, which are encouraging young filmmakers to display their works and to give them more experience and the support they need. So,
do they give out film grants for you to go out make films, or what other kind of support today is available?
Well, first of all, they give confidence, which is really lacking here because most parents don't support their children in filmmaking. I'm a lucky kid, obviously. My mom is very supportive of my passion, which is art. Besides that, the organization I was talking about, I believe they do give support in terms of gear, filmmaking gear, such as cameras and all that. They also, I do think they give monetary, like financial support as well when it comes to filmmaking.
Great. It's a good start.
Yeah, it's a good start in
Yes.
filmmaking in Bangladesh.
Yes. Great. And so thank you, Niyaz. How about Singapore?
There is a community to really like encourage that, but I wouldn't say from a filmmaker's perspective. I think that still has a long way more to go. I mean, the government does really encourage people to sort of like, recycle plastic and not to like damage or like throw like rubbish into the sea. But generally in terms of like artists and filmmakers, not very common. We do get grants, but it's really up to the individual filmmakers to want to pitch that kind of story to tell. Yeah, but we don't really have a lot of that as of now.
I see, but there are sources of support. For example, if you know where to
Yes,
ask.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. It's very good.
We have Delwyn back here.
We lost Delwyn again. Oh, okay.
No,
Here he is.
here.
Okay. Yeah, from India. Okay. How is it in India? Are there a lot of interest in climate filmmaking and support available? And what kind of people make climate films? That's what we want to know. Yeah.
Thanks. I'm sorry about disappearing because there's it's thundering suddenly in summer, so so power just went out. So I would like to address this question from a design perspective because I'm a faculty, one of the faculties in Department of Design, and we have a faculty colleague of mine who has done his PhD in sustainable design, and so now there is also within IIT Hyderabad, there is a Department of Climate Change, and that's about 3 years old. So, and now from the design landscape, earlier designers were always thinking about products and industrial design, and I think the overall understanding of design is now product design is sustainable design, because you cannot really make products or artifacts, or even if you're making an installation, you have to also think about the afterlife of what materials you're using. And I can see there's increase in all aspects of even civil engineering and what materials we're using to build houses. There's a lot of experiments going on from all aspects, not just from the filmmaking perspective. But similarly, we have a huge population in India. So things will take time, but I can see there's a lot of research going on in these areas, which is a good sign.
Good. But I mean, India is a huge country and, so diverse and lots of activism and all kinds of people doing all kinds of things. And we've seen lots of films from India with environmental or climate themes and in all kinds of genres. How are the young people in India interested? How much are they interested in the climate issue, and what are they doing about it?
So I don't really have the answer to that to be able to say, but I can speak from my experience. So again, coming from an educator, so I think it takes some time to make the students think about the larger aspect of what they are doing. And now it is, if you look at it from art or design, it's not about just doing something because you like it. You have to, perhaps you might be making one life better, but if you're a little careless about what you're doing, you might make 100 lives worse. So, I mean, that's the role that me and my colleagues have to play in nurturing these young minds, because skill is one thing, but the mindset is equally important. So I feel that especially when I work with very young students who are coming at the graduate level, often this thought, they don't think too much about this. It's more like, I like to do this, therefore I'm doing this. So it is our duty as educators to create, responsible minds so that when they go to the industry, they are not just doing something to make the rich man or rich woman richer, but they are also thinking about the larger landscape. So, I mean, that is the role that we come in, and we try to get our students to think about this. But time will tell. I don't have that. It's not an easy thing to answer.
Right. I think that is why we are doing what we are now, right? What we are doing now, right? Making art and making films so that it would reach more people and get them to think about the issues. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I think
we
like
get perspective from all countries now, right?
Yeah, I think we get everyone, and I mean, actually, everyone just talk about like why you making the film and tell the story that you've been told in your short film, and I just want to kind of if like someone who want to start making a short film, I just want to know why they have to make a short film about climate change, why it's important to tell a story about climate change or environmental issues in the form of short film. Maybe let's start with Hans again.
Hello. I started producing the film out of like connection to spaces, but then it maybe transcended to like connection to nature as well. And having that said, it's also the fact that everything is just connected to each other. And then maybe it's more of like us as humans are with full awareness and full consciousness of like full consciousness of what's happening around us. We have the power to think and make action and take action towards it. And the film is a connection of everything to each other. And knowing that the Philippine government and the profit and all of the profit connected to the environmental issues is not being attended to, I was inspired to create this film that it transcended to an experimental form. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah, absolutely. So next up, Zach.
It's definitely influence. Like, I think the power of film is that, you know, it sort of like mirrors real life, and I feel that it's very important that our films sort of like give sort of like a wake-up call to the audience so that they can realize what is the situation at hand and do something about it. Yeah.
All right. Next, Delwyn.
Yeah, so I would think that awareness, I mean, our intention of this film was purely awareness, and we were very direct with what we were trying to tell. Even with our title, we were very direct because we feel that common person should be able to understand exactly, you know, it's not about painting a beautiful picture of our species, but it's the harsh reality. That was our main motivation, and if many filmmakers have this intention in mind, I think it's very enriching for us to, you know, step outside our comfort zone and understand what is actually happening, you know, beyond your borders, and what is happening, the deforestation that is happening, and, you know, more and more buildings coming up and residential areas taking place. And our experience while making our particular film was we had to learn why these species were endangered, and it was a learning for us as well. Because, you know, many of the things we didn't know about the albatross and the snow leopard, and also connecting it with our previous question. So I hope some of the students who are working with me are sensitive to this issue with this whole experiential process, because I remember when we were checking the footage on our camera, some of them refused to look at the rhino's horns being cut. And even though it was images that we were created and we know it's not real and it's abstraction, but it was equally painful. And we were not showing blood, we were showing flowers actually instead of blood. But still they could not look at that footage, even in the playback. So hopefully, I haven't seen a larger audience look at this film because of the pandemic, but I would really hope that it gives across the message, which is the most important thing from filmmakers' point of view.
Yeah, thank you. Next, James, why it's important to tell a story about climate change in the form of short film?
Hi, so what made me pursue our film is my love for the environment. It is because the environment is not being taken care of, and we are at the brink of losing Mother Earth from climate change and plastic pollution. And it is for the advocacy and yes, for the awareness that was said a while ago, that we should stand up and choose a choice to take care of our environment. It is our responsibility to save the earth and our animals because we live in it and they are a part of us. And thank you.
Yeah, that was great. Next, I think Niyaz. All right, last one.
I think. Can you please repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, I think you touched on a little bit about why it's important to tell the climate change, but maybe just talk about send a message to filmmaker or people who want to just start filmmaking. Like, why is it important to tell a story about climate change?
Okay, obviously, because if we don't do something about climate change soon, then our future generations are going to have to suffer for our actions. That's the first and foremost point. In terms of filmmaking to raise awareness for climate change, I believe that a good film is enough to move someone's heart and make them decide for the better. A good film can influence someone more than anything, I believe. So obviously, we filmmakers should all focus on raising awareness through our films about the subject of climate change as soon as we can, because like I said, we don't want our future generations to suffer for our own actions. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think all of your films kind of give a lot of inspiration and kind of motivate. I mean, at least me, and I think a lot of people who have seen your film is kind of get motivated to kind of be concerned more about our world. Like, I mean, I when I watch your film, Niyaz and James, I start to clean the plastic bag and kind of keep it, and I mean, a little bit of action, I think, is kind of important. Just a good start, and then it's kind of, I think, hopefully, it will eventually is going better, and people kind of get starting to concern more and take action more.
Yeah, I think that every filmmaker should at least keep some action in this topic. Like, for me, it's a 4-minute long short film. Even if it's 4 minutes, it's 4 minutes is can go a long way. That's why I believe that every filmmaker should once in their life at least create something that's related to raising awareness about climate change.
Yeah,
that leads it perfectly to my question, actually. Like, basically, what advice will you give to people, young or old, or anyone who might not have made any films, short or long, about on the topic of climate change yet? How would you advise them to go about making one? What is the important thing to start doing if you want to make one?
I'm not sure if I'm suitable for giving a good advice because I am a new filmmaker. I'm new to filmmaking.
But at least you made one very wonderful film.
Thank you. But for climate change, I think that one must first like actually feel the impact of what's going on around us. One must actually be aware. If I become first I must become aware of my surroundings and about what's going on through climate change and global warming. After that, I must practically implement these and maintain my responsibilities as a citizen of this world to mitigate climate change. Because if I'm not doing the correct things, then how am I supposed to give advice to other people? So first we must maintain our own responsibilities. After that, I think we can work towards raising awareness for others.
So understand it yourself first before doing anything, right? Thank you. That's a great advice. How about let's hear from others. Zach, what do you think? What advice would you give?
What Niyaz said actually is really spot on. It starts with your personal beliefs, because that influence the kind of films you want to make eventually. Yeah.
Right, and with understanding maybe comes passion, right?
Yes, for sure.
And the drive,
and the drive, yeah.
to communicate what you have learned to other people.
Yeah.
Great, wonderful. Jean, what do you think?
I think that we should teach the other filmmakers about what's happening in our environment right now, and that with that teachings, they should absorb the learnings and make it real life, make an action in real life, and make an actual film about it for other filmmakers, and that they should be inspired by that to take an action, because again, the environment is slowly deteriorating. And that's it. Thank you.
Yep, that's right. So we each of us has to take responsibility and educate ourselves more about what's going on, right? And what do you have to say, Piozon?
Hello.
You agree?
I think, dealing with environmental situations is more of like going back to the roots and basically being more aware of your surroundings. If you're in your place and you look around and you see something that changes, it says more about the bigger picture. Like everything, every macro thing, the whole world affects the microcosm of things. If you look around and you observe that something is wrong, it's happening in a macro level. So it's being more aware that the things that are happening around you is happening everywhere, especially in the world.
Right. So basically, it seems like each of us will have to be first an environmentalist.
Exactly.
Before
Yeah.
we can be an artist.
Yeah. We have to be an environmentalist
correctly. What what message needs to go out and help with collective learning. In order to do something about it, right?
It's also the connection of people, the collective effort of people that would actually lead us to create a big impact to the climate change.
Right, and using art as medium.
Yeah, and every possible, even if you're like an accountant or like in a different field or like basically any field, you can do something about the environment.
Right. And even if you can make film, like I can make film, but I can watch a lot of them and talk about them, right?
Yeah, right. So basically, each and every one of us can make a difference for the environment.
Different contributions in
the
way that we can, right? And every day in the way we live, the way we practice.
We just apply it
and use resources, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Piozon. What do you think, Delwyn? And how maybe I'm sure that you inspire your students every day. Maybe you are a teacher, so maybe you are used to giving a lot of advice. What advice would you give to aspiring filmmakers who want to make a climate film?
So I agree with all my filmmaker friends who have said that it starts with you and what message it has to be internal and then it will come out as your expression. But just another perspective is that just like everyone nowadays is a photographer, and similarly everyone is a filmmaker, because there are so many ways to make a film other than the so-called standard methods, right? There is an emerging trend called mobile filmmaking, where everything is done on the mobile. You don't even have to come to your laptop or desktop. Even the editing is on the go. So that opens up, I mean, then there's VR, and there's so many other aspects that are coming in. And nowadays, everyone has the technology on their fingertips. So it's very accessible. You don't need to go to a large producer or have all the big equipments like the trolley and dollies and things like that to say something. So firstly, I would like to break that myth, because once people know that you don't need a budget and you have already the device you need to say something, that is enough. I mean, then you just need to, and it's a lot of trial and error. I'm sure my friends would agree with me, because very often your first film might not be good, and sometimes if it's a comedy, sometimes people might not laugh at the joke, and then with filmmaking, you go back to the drawing board and then you think, okay, what was the difference? Why didn't it work? So there's a lot of trial and error. I've made several poor films to end up making a decent one, and but you have to get back to it. Just like any other profession, it's constant trial and error, and it takes persuasion and passion, I would say. So it's my take.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but I am pretty positive that there will be a lot of motivations and inspiration around, the more wonderful works going out to the larger audience. I think more people will be inspired, especially younger generation. Thank you. Thank you, Delwyn.
So now we're gonna move to the Q&A session. And I mean, everyone who watching right now, if you have a questions to the filmmaker, you can just type in the chat box, or if you kind of a shy person like me, you just DM us as well. That's fine as well. We have a few questions already. This is a question for Zach. She said, I have seen many good shots about environment and climate change from Singapore. The young people seem to be very curious about the issues. Did you study this from school? What aspect of environmental issues that they teach students at school?
Sorry, so did I study environment in school?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, did you start to kind of interested or know more about the climate issues or environmental issues in school? Did they teach students over there?
Yes, they do actually. But I wouldn't say it's a very big emphasis on it. Definitely they do educate us on this danger that's happening, because they definitely want us, or the future generations, the younger generations, to be very aware on how to sort of solve this issue that is ongoing, and it's sort of getting worse right now. Yeah. But I mean, after that, I went to film school, so they don't really teach anything about environment anymore. Yeah.
Same as me.
Yeah.
I think in Thailand, we kind of briefly talk about climate change, and yeah, I mean, maybe other people, other filmmakers can jump in as well. I wonder as well, in your country, in school, do they teach in the topic of climate change?
Wait, can I add? But of course,
sure.
there are. I mean, I took the filmmaking route, but there are other students who are really passionate about environment, so they decide to pursue or further their studies, with regards to that course, and then they become environmentalists themselves. So it does have that opportunity to actually educate more about it. Yeah.
Yeah. How's about school in India, Bangladesh, Philippines? How is the situation over there?
Should I go first or Mr.
Yeah.
Delwyn?
Go ahead.
In terms of if they educate us on climate change at school, I would say it's the bare minimum, where it's kind of like memorize this essay on climate change from a paper that was published from 2007. So I will say, like, when it comes to climate change, everything is really backdated as a third world country. One thing I would like to emphasize on is that I think that the Bangladesh government, the textbooks, the national educational curriculum, the books should, each book should have at least one chapter dedicated to climate change and applying it, because I'll say many people are aware of what's going on, climate change and such, and there's many people that are not, but the people that are aware, most of them do not apply the knowledge in day-to-day living. So we must be aware and apply the knowledge in our lives to make our surroundings better. But other than that, there's still a large portion of our country that is still unaware of climate change and such. So I think that it would be a good idea to at least put one chapter dedicated to this cause in each of our each grade of our national curriculum. But other than that, like I said, most of it is pretty backdated.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of nod on what you are saying. That's right. That's happened to me. Maybe James and Hans can give a view, give us your view on that. Who go first? James?
In the Philippines, we only talk climate change in a science subject that is very short term, and that's it. That's all we got from our education system. And it's really bad here in the Philippines that our education system is like that, because we are at the brink of our extinction of animals and many more, and yet the government don't take an action on it, and they don't put it on books, they don't share it online, they don't share it in our studies and make studies about it. But some people do, but our government doesn't support us in that way.
And do you have anything to add?
Yeah. In the Philippines, the educational system is kind of like the same with every Southeast Asian countries, but there are also organizations that are being active when it comes to environmental concerns. Mostly organizations that are experiencing firsthand the environmental destructions of big corporations, and they are fighting for the rights of the marginalized people. And most especially organizations that are fighting for the rights, the human rights, because it's directly connected to environmental issues. But for about the educational system, usually it's more mentioned in science subjects, as what Jean said, and it's like a small portion of the curriculum that's environmental concerns, social civic needs are being attended to.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if you want to kind of answer questions, Delwyn. Especially, you are also a teacher.
Yeah, but I can just give a little perspective, because my son, he's in second standard, and I can see a change. And perhaps I don't know whether it can be a separate subject. It would be nice, but a lot of the children are overloaded with the existing curriculum. So we add another subject. It might create awareness, but it might further complicate their load, their education load. So I think it might be interesting if it's integrated into the various subjects that they are already taught. And I can already see it in some of my son's textbooks, like I think in EVS Environmental Studies, they were doing a chapter talking about various materials, and it was used that, this leather is got from crocodile skin. And then it was written that this is an endangered species, so this activity should not be there. So it was written in the textbook, and it was really impressive to see, at least, that's written in a first standard child's textbook. And another change that I'm seeing is usually in India on a child's birthday, usually the child gives sweets to all the classmates. So now that the school has made a new rule that you have to give some seed or some plant, rather than something unhealthy or something like that. So I'm seeing there's a lot of scope to have changes, not necessarily as an extra subject, but there are many ways, because there are so many activities that can take place in schools and in colleges. And there's so many ways that we can get the young generation sensitive about these issues.
Yeah, I think the reason I kind of when someone asks about the education system in our country, and it just kind of I just think about what I have seen, like in the past when I working in the film production, something like that. I'm not sure that maybe this kind of the key thing that I think the government or everyone that has the power have to make an action. Like I have not like kind of recognized the importance or the impact of climate change since I study in college. And to me, and I'm a film student as well, like in the film set, I feel like I don't care about anything about climate change. Like and when you make a film and people could understand that if you make a film, there's a lot of aspect that we kind of the waste, the garbage on the set or everything is kind of involved, it's kind of related in some way. And when we don't think about the climate change or we don't think about the issue of this, it's kind of impact on that aspect as well. And I feel like if we kind of talk more about climate change in school, people have the mindset that this is something that you have to concern. And when you go out and do something, make a film or do any job, anything, you kind of keep in mind that every action that you do is kind of contributes to climate change as well. And I think this is kind of something that we could keep talking about this subject over and over. Yeah.
Actually, if I may, I would like to add to continue what Delwyn just mentioned. Maybe I have a child who is in kindergarten, and in the books of kids, there actually some content, kindergartner K1, 2, 3, they're introduced to like drought, flood, waste, environment, what to do, like plants and nature. So I think there will be change in terms of awareness, especially for the new generation. The question is it soon enough? I don't think we can catch up. So I don't think that education need necessarily be in written form, be in textbooks, because what we are doing, these films or art will go straight to the heart. I think you need to get the heart before you get the head, because there are lots of things that go to the head and don't stick. So I think art will be a very important form of a channel medium to communicate important issues, be they social or environmental or existential issues like climate change. So I think all of us, we just need to continue working on doing what we are doing and hopefully all of you would make more films, would create more art in whatever form, And yes, I'm looking forward to your new films about the climate migration, for example. So maybe I think we could do a lot with art, with different forms of arts, and especially short film is such a effective form of communication on this particular issue, and we have seen that. And CCCL is a young project. I mean, this year is just our starting our third year, but in 2 years we've seen lots of different kinds of films. It's just amazing. And I'm Gen X, and I feel really impressed by the new generation and the creativity and the passion and the insight in the films that we have seen in 2 years. So I'm getting long-winded, so I would give the mic to Kunakon. What do we do next?
Actually, we still have a question for some of the filmmakers. This is for Hans. So they said, I have watched an EIDOLON named Night many times. Love the film and its dreamy, misty environment. I feel like everyone and every living thing in the film is connected through the dream and the sound. So I would like to know about the process of creating sound for this film, and also the instruments you use in making the film. Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much for the question. Well, yeah, the sound is really important in my film. First of all, it was all made through software instruments. So I use GarageBand, and everything was made through a computer. But then the structuring of the sound is the most interesting part. Like as I mentioned earlier, it was a 3-act structure, and then for every part of the structure, there's a corresponding sound to it. First is like it's just an ambient music. And then afterwards, there's going to be an actual score to it. There's a music to it because I want it to be more intensified. And then afterwards, there's like a sequence of fire. So the sequence where it's showing just fire is just the sound of fire. And then everything is just muted eventually. So it's a really important facet of my film. And thank you for appreciating the sound of the film.
All right. I think we come to the last question, and I think this question we can ask all of you. The last question: what was the most challenge that you encountered during the production, and how did you overcome that challenge? Maybe start with Delwyn. How you managed to student to make the film and connect together all the pieces?
So yeah, I think that was the challenge because the students have come out of school and they are used to a very traditional teaching method. And the approach that I was trying to, we are completely replacing the black or white board with a film as a canvas, and we're sitting and moving things together. So for some, it was very difficult to understand this whole method of teaching, and they would stand back, and I was trying my best to get all of them involved. Somebody handed in the lightings, and when you're doing stop motion, there are multiple elements, so you can trust them with something small so that they get their confidence, and then later you can give them more detailed things. So if everyone is working on one little element, they know where this has moved in the previous frame, so that way we can work in a harmony. And so I think that was the challenge, because I think the initial few days of the shoot, some were sitting in their hostel room and they were not coming in. And I tried to tell them that, no, this is the lecture. There is no lecture, but we are learning while we are doing. And so later they got that concept, and then they started participating more. And we were not really expecting, I mean, we are definitely happy with the outcome, but I think our main objective was to get them to understand the filmmaking process and to see something, come out together with the sound, and hopefully they get excited and they want to try that again. So that was our overall objective.
Yeah, may I ask how many students involved in making this project?
There were 10 students in the class, and they were design students, but we also had some Bachelor of Technology students. There were 3 of them who registered for this course. So there were 3 of them involved. They were not from design.
Okay, all right. Next up, Zach, I think you kind of talk a little bit about the chaos on the beach already, but any other challenge that you experience?
Not really, I guess. I guess that's really the biggest challenge, like shooting outdoors by the beach with one long take. You know, you're really like Mother Nature is in full control of the set. You know, you just got to like embrace that and just make the best out of it. And just, you know, I remember we had to like just keep doing because we wanted to get the blocking for the characters right as well. Yeah.
How many take like in total?
So we did about eight.
That's not bad though.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I guess
it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
I mean the final picture. I think it's
so grateful that it didn't rain. But it was really scorching hot that day. Yeah. So
yeah, it's like I mean the mise en scène, everything is kind of perfect in your film. Yeah, that's good. Next up, Jean.
Hello. So,
Any
since
challenge?
since we are in the pandemic, we found it difficult to communicate with each other and be on time with the requirements or deadlines. But we found a way to understand each other and have a healthy environment for the production. That's only our small challenges.
So you were in you and your team were in different places and you didn't see each other face to face?
We didn't see each other in face to face. We were all online.
Yeah, I think people when hear this story, like you know you can be in different places and you still be able to make a film.
Yeah, you can be in different countries and make make film together these days, right?
Right. All right. Next up, Niyaz.
The biggest challenge for me as a animated filmmaker is, I would say, maintaining the quality. I mean, I try to keep my thing. I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to my artwork, so I try to keep things perfect. But when I'm making an animated film all by myself, my animated film had 6 frames per second, and it's 4 minutes, so around like 1400 frames, all hand drawn. One thing you will notice is that towards the beginning of the animation, the quality is very nice, right? Every animation, like everything animated is separately drawn. But as we get further and further, it becomes difficult for me to maintain the quality. So I start copying and pasting frames. So that's the main challenge. One more thing is that as I'm making it by myself, I'm a zero budget producer, so I don't want to spend any money. So when it came to the sound design, the story behind this is I worked for the animation for 2 whole weeks, like non-stop, just eat, sleep, and do the animation 2 weeks. And then at the last day, I thought I should try sound editing because I wanted to not just slap a music on there and say it's done. I actually wanted to try adding sound effects. So what I did, I had no experience with this, and I still have barely any because digital art and editing is new to me. So what I did, I got a software. It was Filmora 9, I think, and I like worked for 3 hours, 3 whole hours, and did all the sound editing, put it together. And then when I went to save the file as an MP4, it said that either you have to pay or they're going to put a giant watermark on top of it. So financial support, that's the main problem, and maintaining quality. So what I did at the end was I played it on Filmora 9, but then I recorded my screen. That's why the quality is so low of my film. So that's one of my biggest regrets. And the quality was way better. It was 1080p, but after screen recording, everything just got butchered. And that's
well, but we screen your film at the theater, and I think it still looks good. So I could not imagine if it come out
the main focus is the message, I guess, but still the quality.
No, I think it's good enough, and I'm sure your next project is gonna be better. So
thank you.
All right. So last but not least, Hans. Tell the story.
Yeah, so basically, like everyone else, I feel like I've mentioned this quite a lot of times, but then the main edge of the film is like it's basically a zero budget film, and then I practically sourced every possible resources from my friends, and most especially my best friend who helped me a lot to it. She practically produced it, and and she was a cinematographer to it, and then she practically sourced everything that I need for the film for it. Yeah, everything is zero budget, and like here in the Philippines or like in any third world countries, there's some sort of like a nepotism when it comes to filmmaking, that you have to go through this to get to that in a way, and you have to find your way to get you into that actual stature in a way. But we managed to power through amidst every limitations, and I feel like it's an important thing for every youth filmmakers at the moment, especially during the pandemic, because like everyone's just trying hard to do their craft and be inspired and be more passionate with what they do. And I wish more and more filmmakers, most especially young filmmakers, would be passionate to it, that they do anything to do what they like and what they are envisioning.
Yeah. Wow, quite a story. Like, I mean,
Wow, zero budget filmmaking. We could do a session on that. Like amazing, guys.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for making the film and kind of put your passion and your creativity in your project, and usually come out. We see your film and we send it, and we learn a lot about climate change and learn about your artistic in your filmmaker God, like that live in your body maybe. Yeah, it's really lovely to have a chance to watch your film and meet with you and talking with you today. And I think we are at 8:30 already, and
yeah, it's an hour and a half. I'm looking forward to seeing more of your work, every single one of you. And I have to say again, I was impressed, and it was, you made wonderful work, and you just should continue doing more, making more films.
Yeah, I think we can't wait to.
We're looking forward to have your films coming next year.
Yeah.
Or the following year.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and thank you everyone who watching this live session, or anyone who rewatch it. So this video will be available on YouTube and on Facebook, CCCL Film Festival. And from today until April 10, you still have a chance to watch all the film of this amazing talented filmmaker. Go to watch.ccclfilmfestival.com and vote for the Audience Choice Award. So right now, you can go right now. And yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us. And tomorrow we have another sessions about how to write a proposal for a CCCL Film Grants program. So don't miss it. All right. So today, thank you so much, everyone, and have a good night.
Yep. Thank you. Bye. Jean, Niyaz, Piozon, Zach, and Delwyn. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.